Welcome to today's session. I'm excited to be with you today. My name is Dr. C. Adam Callery, and I want to first thank the Chicago Minority Supplier Development Council for this opportunity. Today's session is entitled, Stop Avoiding It. Bookkeeping is your best friend. An introduction to bookkeeping and its benefits. I will begin today by summarizing a few key concepts that will shape our discussion. We're going to open by reviewing three areas. Why is bookkeeping required in small businesses? What are the long-term benefits of bookkeeping to the business? And lastly, we're going to review the qualifications you should look for in a professional. We will also have 3 session objectives. I like to call them learning objectives. We want to clarify the principles and purpose of business bookkeeping. We want to review the benefits of bookkeeping as it relates to small business management. And we want to highlight the qualifications you should look for in a professional who provides these services. So clarifying the principles and purpose of bookkeeping essentially is going to be a discussion around accounting and also around strategy. A review of the benefits is going to talk about a host of different benefits that you will actually experience if you perform the bookkeeping services yourself or if you hire a professional to come in and do them for you. So let's talk about bookkeeping. Before we get started, I first want to have a heart-to-heart. As a business owner myself, I can tell you personally that bookkeeping is not on the top of my daily activities. It's just not on the list. And that may surprise you since I'm here to talk about bookkeeping. I'm not bragging about it. I'm actually stating that it's a concern, and I have to get better at it. To be honest, it is an important task that I have to elevate. I have to put in front of me, and I have to get it done. And I have to get it done not just at tax time, but literally throughout the year so I can keep track of how well the business is performing. In most cases, I feel that doing the bookkeeping is taking up valuable time that I should be using on other parts of the business, such as finding new customers, going out and marketing, promoting, getting items out there in social media, making sure that my face is into place. But those are activities that are required for the business, true. But bookkeeping is also a role that is part of the business, and it's a role that the founder and business owner must go ahead and maintain. It's a role of financial management. The other tasks are focused on operations and marketing, where we're trying to make people aware of the business. This is more of an internal role where I'm trying to make sure as a business leader that I'm making appropriate decisions that are going to lead to profitability. Frankly, what I've found is that when we talk about bookkeeping, it's just not considered to be that sexy activity of business. It's not fun. It takes time. There's not that immediate reward that other activities that we do in business brings us. It requires me to stop doing what I see as fun and exciting work that's going to bring me recognition. And as a result, I put it on the back burner. Let me share a couple of examples. In fact, some practical examples that we may see if we were out there running our businesses and considering whether or not bookkeeping is necessary. Let's start off with Daniela. So Daniela is opening up her first hair salon. Imagine the joy she's feeling as she places that key in the lock and turns it slowly. Immediately, she remembers all the work and effort it took to build out the space, getting the walls painted, clearing out the dust, putting in the new tables and counters. getting the salon chairs in place and installed. Also, it brings to mind the time it took for her to bring the lighting in, get it installed, and getting it just right to make the space look perfect. And finally, selecting those stylists that are going to be able to serve her clients with dignity and professionalism. That's an exciting time when you open up the business and you feel it and you experience it immediately. Let's take Ronnie, for instance. Ronnie is a general contractor. Ronnie has been in business for 10 years, and now the company is in the right place to bid on a government contract. Well, that day has arrived, and Ronnie was successful. He has secured a 6-figure government contract. It took him months working with his team to prepare the proposal, interviewing with the client, and finally convincing the client that his small firm could do the work of a much larger firm. And now the day is here. The contract is signed, and now it's time to celebrate. Our last example, Isabella. She's an event planner. This weekend, she had the chance to host her largest wedding. She remembers the countless number of negotiations that took place with suppliers and vendors. She remembers the amount of energy it took and had to be expended in order to manage her costs, in order to protect her margins. Each one of these activities, each one of these tasks were done in order to help her fulfill her goal of succeeding at this event, to make sure her client was pleased and satisfied, to once again make sure that she earned what she was expecting to earn. But at the end of the day, when we look at all three of these examples, the question the owners have to ask themselves, is whether or not the business is viable. Is the business viable? And the only way I can answer that question is by bookkeeping. And that's why this task has to be brought from the background to the foreground. It is something that you have to do. It may not be sexy, but it is needed. The information provided will be critical to your decision making. The information provided will help you as a startup make it to the next day, make it into the next year. The information provided will help the experienced business owner reach that stage where they're ready to start scaling and expanding the footprint of the business. And for either case, the startup or the experienced business, bookkeeping will help you manage the business successfully and manage it successfully based on financial measures, which ultimately is what everybody's looking at. Your banker, your investor, your employees, your business partners, whether or not the company is showing strong financial performance. And bookkeeping will help us answer that question. So let's start off with our first segment. Why is bookkeeping required in small businesses? So what is bookkeeping? In general, bookkeeping is the record of financial transactions and is part of the process of accounting in business. So it is a formal record. It is something that we are going to archive. It's going to become part of our history. And because it's being archived, we'll be able to reference it in the future if needed. It's also part of accounting, and we're going to spend some time talking about accounting. It is a part of the accounting procedures. So most people, when they hear the phrase accounting, they think of debits and credits and they run for cover. I hated it. I didn't like debits and credits. Didn't understand it when I was in high school, confused the heck out of me. As time went on, I started to figure out what they were talking about. But ultimately, bookkeeping is the first step of accounting. It is taking all those principles you learned about in high school or maybe even in college and applying it. So we're trying to track our basic transactions or our typical transactions, purchasing inventory, making payroll payments, purchasing supplies, receiving monies from the bank as part of a loan. We need to record that. Why should we take the time to formally perform bookkeeping services? Well, I mentioned it already. It becomes an archive. It becomes a historic record. It helps us in monitoring cash flow. For those of you who are not familiar with this term, it just means I get to understand where our money is coming from, where it is sourced. I also have a better understanding of where I'm spending it or how it's leaving the business. It helps me to improve the management of invoices. If I'm truly bookkeeping, it's forcing me to stop for a minute and take a look at the mail and take a look at those invoices that are coming in and make sure that the supplier isn't overcharging me for a service. Maybe they're charging me for something they never delivered. I need to know that before I write the check. So it's helping me to become better at observing the operations of the business and being a little bit more stronger in my administrative task. It helps me to confirm profitability, and it enables an owner to do what we call audit operations. I can then look at the invoice, I see there's a problem, I then go back to my records to make sure I didn't make a mistake. If I find that my records are solid, then I can feel comfortable going back to the supplier and inquire, hey, why is this number wrong? Why are you charging me this higher amount? And then I can reconcile it. It enables an owner to present business successfully to potential investors and creditors. So one of the big things is I want to be able to feel confident about the business. I want to be able to present confidently in front of investors and creditors. If I'm not sure of my numbers, if I'm not sure about the strength of these numbers, whether or not I can repeat what I did last month in terms of sales, whether I can repeat what I did last month in terms of controlling my costs, I'm going to be very uncomfortable when asked by a banker or a creditor, how healthy is the business? How well is the business doing? I want to be able to answer that question with confidence. Creates a professional business culture within the organization. If I'm tracking consistently what's happening with the business and my employees see me doing this, then they know they also need to be mindful that I will be tracking what they're doing. And they will be mindful of the fact that they also need to make sure that they're spending monies appropriately in the task that they're performing for me. Builds confidence of the founder as they make daily or future decisions. That's the strategy piece. I'm using the information so I can make better decisions in the future. That's the heart of strategy. Strategy is not just about where I want to go with the business, it's how am I going to get there? Tactically, how am I going to get there? What actions am I going to take? And that's why we do what we do. What does investors and creditors look for when they're talking about a business or a small business? What do they look for in management? What do they look for that manager to do? And what I mean by talking about the business, whether or not they believe the business is successful or not. They're looking for confidence supported by evidence. They want you to not only say the business is doing well, but there's evidence that the business is doing well. You have a record of success. They're going to be asking about past financial performance. Can you show me that you were profitable in the past? Can you show me that you actually accumulated sales? They're looking for a realistic business plan. They don't want to hear that you're hoping that you're successful. They want to hear that you're moving towards success because you're taking appropriate steps to get there. They're also, of course, curious about the founder's background. Of course, they're going to ask questions about that, but they're going to confirm what they heard by looking at the actions that you take. So if you say that you're consistent, you're dedicated, you are committed to the business, part of the commitment is that you're also recording the history of the business. You're making these financial records. So let's talk a little bit more about creating this professional culture, as I like to call it, or professional business culture. So there's current roles and responsibilities for any startup, for any business owner. There's things that you have to do. So daily management decisions you're making, You're scheduling staff and employees. You're managing customer relationships. You're preparing bills that need to go out so you can collect your monies for successful work that you've done. There's business development activities where you're out doing marketing. So that's the daily churn and also the monthly churn. Now, let's see how bookkeeping supports what you're trying to do, how bookkeeping provides a foundation for all of these activities we just listed. So bookkeeping creates a professional environment. It strengthens cash flow management because the more bookkeeping you do, the more comfortable you become with the numbers, meaning the income coming in and the expenses going out. So it helps you manage that cash flow. It helps you with regards to long-term planning. Once you know how your monies are coming into the business and when they're due and how often they're delayed, it'll help you in making future decisions so you don't overcommit yourself. Put yourself in a situation where you don't have the money to pay for a particular service. Conduct business analysis. Because you're looking at the numbers every day, you'll have a chance to see if something looks out of place, if something doesn't look correct. That's analysis. And then you'll go ahead and make decisions around how to fix those things. Strengthen competitive analysis. If I'm monitoring my numbers, I will also start to look around me at some of my competitors and start to think about how they're running their businesses and actually maybe mimic some of their best practices and try to use some of their techniques, or read about one of the larger businesses in my industry and hear about how much success they're having by applying certain strategies or tactics, and maybe I want to apply those same tactics in my business. So if I understand what they're doing and how much it's costing them, I can then figure out how much it may cost me to do similar tactics in my business to improve my performance. Strategy. Hey, this is a big one here, but we're going to simplify it very quickly for you. So if I'm thinking about being more strategic, and you hear business owners talk about it all the time because they hear the phrase strategic, I'm going to be more strategic. But ultimately, what does it mean? It means that I have this vision for my company, for my organization. I want it to be bigger in the city of Chicago. I want to sell to more people. That's my vision. The strategy is, how do I make that happen? What tactics do I use? So I start off with a plan. So we start off with the planning. Then once I put a plan in place and I have the goals established for the year, in this case, I want to grow my revenues by a certain percentage. That's a goal. I then have to organize my resources. So I start to figure out what I need in terms of labor and equipment. If I'm bookkeeping, I'm going to have a sense of how much things are going to cost to bring into the business to help me accomplish the goal. Then I'm going to execute. And when I execute, it's going to set me up, hopefully, for success, because now I know exactly what I need to do in order to achieve the goal. And then there's this last piece called control. What does control mean? Control is the bookkeeping. I'm now tracking my numbers. I'm looking at my numbers during the year. I'm getting a sense of whether or not I'm going to be profitable or whether or not I'm starting to move in a position where I'm going to lose money. What I'm going to do is immediately take action to correct that situation. So that's what we mean by being strategic or being a strategic planner. I plan based on the vision that I have. I organize my resources. I execute, trying to go for that goal, trying to achieve that goal. And then ultimately, though, I have to have some measures in place. I have to have some measures in front of me, I should say. And I also have to do some measuring, and that's the bookkeeping, to help me track whether or not I'm going to successfully achieve that goal or not. So that concludes why we're doing bookkeeping, because bookkeeping is helping me as a business leader, as a business owner, become better at strategy, better at planning, better at measuring the financial performance of my business. And that's why we have to do it. Our next section, we're going to talk about the long-term benefits of bookkeeping.